Good morning, good morning. Yo, YouTube, what's up with your boys? Sports and Fitness Rants. I'm back, guys. Click that like button. Subscribe to my channel. What's up, y'all? Welcome back. And welcome to another Sunday Live edition. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. You guys know the deal, man. Welcome to another Sunday Live, man. Man, you guys know the deal on this channel. It's all about setting the record straight, stopping the lies, stopping the narratives, stopping them from rewriting history, guys. And in this live stream, we're going to talk about a little bit of everything, a little bit of anything. I told you guys I would give you guys the Nelly story, how I impersonated Nelly back in the day when I was in the Navy, traveling around to different countries. So I told you guys I'd hit you with that story this morning. So I definitely will tell you guys that story. It's pretty funny. So once again, shout out to all you guys. I want to talk about Kevin Durant getting saved last night on the night that he passes Michael Jordan on the scoring list, and he got saved last night by Amen Thompson. I was watching the end of that game, so we're going to talk about some of those things, and I wanted to talk about a couple other things out there. But again, man, shout out to all you guys out there. I want to thank you guys, everyone across the world, everyone across the states that continues to support my channel. You guys know that I'm truly, truly humble. Like I said, it means a lot. Shout out to everybody in the membership that continues to come through. Like I say, I'm truly humbled, man, for real. And you guys know what to do. Turn the volume all the way up. Hit that play button. Remember, these videos, these lives are for educational purposes. And let's roll. So, yes, guys. Yo, good morning. Shout out to all you guys on a Sunday morning. I hope you guys are doing good this morning. Shout out to my man Terrence Potts for coming out early. You guys know that, man. Shout out to my man Michael Gill. Good morning. Shout out to you guys. Yeah, man. About to get it going early this morning for you guys. My man Gino Panzini. Shout out to you going through the thunderstorm. Bandhead. Shout out to Bandhead for coming through as always. Good morning to you. Shout out to Lynetta out here always coming through. Renee, shout out to you. Anthony Sanchez. Good morning. Again, I appreciate you guys always coming through. Laney Music. Let's roll, baby. My man Big Brazy, what up? 887. Shout out to you for coming through. Shout out to Andrew Music 9921. What's good? Good morning. James Hicks. Good morning. Thank you very much. Kevin Lou. Yes, you made it live. My man Kevin Lou coming through all the time. The Jesse Glass Saget. And the Brick has to be the all-time leader in teammates hitting winners after he missed. Yeah, we're gonna talk about that today too. I saw that last night. My goodness gracious. I thought the Orlando Magic had that game. I don't know how they messed that up. I don't know how that dude messed that inbounds player, but this is what they do. Troy Black, shout out to Troy Black for coming through. Drink Blood Drummer, shout out to you for coming through as always, 1030. Thank you very much. Andre Carter, thank you guys for always. Good morning, man. Troy Smith, Armando Ruiz. Yes, sir. Rants activated. And this ain't fake activation. This ain't like LeBron James activating playoff mode. You know what I'm saying? When I start doing my thing, you know it's going to be real. You know that. So shout out to my man Armando Ruiz for coming through. Oh, man, like I said, shout out my man TG. Good morning to you. David Young Sr. Yo, once again, man, like I said, it's truly humbling, man. You guys have come through every morning. I hope I didn't miss anybody out there. The Gold Eagle, shout out to you. The Gold Eagle 99. Looking like contenders. Keep it real. Keep it real. Keep it real. Contenders. Contending with who? Contending with who? Listen, man, Luka Doncic is doing his thing. The Lakers are not true contenders, though. Come on, man. Let's keep it real out here. They not contenders, man. Who they beat? They ain't beat nobody this season, man. Who they beat? They ain't beating nobody, man. Like I said, the way that the Lakers play in a regular season, you might get some wins in a regular season. The Lakers are not built for the playoffs. When teams are going to exploit your weaknesses, when they start putting Luka Doncic in pick and rolls every play, and Austin Reeves in pick and rolls, and LeBron James in pick and rolls. Remember, this is what Minnesota did last season to them. Remember, they kept attacking LeBron James on defense, attacking Luka Doncic on defense, right? This was going to happen, man. The weaknesses of the Lakers are going to come out. Remember, they're still one of the worst, excuse me, guys, rebounding teams in the league, right? The win streak is great for them, no doubt. The Lakers, they're playoff team. But they're not contended. They're not beating the Thunder. To me, they're not beating the Spurs. If they match up right now, they would match up, I believe, against the Nuggets in the first round. I'm picking the Nuggets. People can call me Nokic hater or whatever they want to call me. I'll pick the Nuggets right now. If the Lakers were matched up against the Nuggets in the first round, I would pick them. If they match up against the Minnesota Timberwolves again in the first round, I'll pick the Timberwolves. Unless Luka Doncic going to average 40 The Lakers ain't winning, man, against any of them teams I mentioned. And like I said, in the playoffs, all the free throws they've been getting this season, all the favorable scheduling to rack up some of these wins, it's not going to fly in a playoff scenario for me. The way they play. Look at the way they play. I was watching some of the game last night. When I turned the game on, I think it was the third quarter when I turned the game on, right? And I turned the game on, and guys, 3 straight plays when I turned the game on. What did the Lakers do? Right? It was in a close game. I think they were winning like 78-70 or something like that, right? And for 3 straight possessions, the Lakers came down, right? And Luka Doncic, nobody touched the ball. No one. Luka Doncic inbounded the ball, and no one touched the ball for 3 straight possessions. That's not going to win in the playoffs, man. That's why I tell you they're one of the low teams on assists, because Luka Doncic's baskets are not assisted on. He just dribbles, and shoots. Austin Reeves does a lot of that. LeBron James does a lot of that. So that play's not going to work in the playoffs. And I told you, as long as LeBron James is playing 30 minutes a night, he's going to hinder the Lakers. That's the problem. Put LeBron James on the bench. Go ahead, man. Call the Lakers contenders then. You want to do that? By all means, man. But not with LeBron James out there playing 30 minutes. Hell no. He said, I'm talking about the playoffs. Remember last year when they played Minnesota, Lakers in 5? You were probably saying Lakers in 5 last year too, weren't you? And what happened to them? Yo, Rudy Gobert was looking all world. We laugh at Rudy Gobert. And the dude looked amazing against LeBron James and Lakers. You think DeAndre Ayton is solving the problems for them? Like that's what's going to happen now? And Luka Doncic is going to do everything for he's still not going to do enough to carry LeBron James. It's not going to be enough. I told you the Lakers won 50 games last year. They were better on defense last year. They were actually ranked on higher on defense last year. And they still got beat 4-1. And remember, the one game that the Lakers actually got out of the Minnesota Timberwolves, the Minnesota Timberwolves should have won that game. They should have been swept. It wasn't like they lost a 7-game series, right? All the Minnesota. Nah, man, they got handled. Like I said, we'll see what happens. I want you to make a video when the Lakers, win a championship this year. All right? When they win the championship, we'll all be waiting for Golden Eagle 99 to make the video on it and let us know how wrong we were. Yo, shout out to my man Kevin Kingslayer. Good morning to you guys, man. You guys know I'm keeping it real, man. These are the facts. Chris Garcia, Somos Banditos, Carl Holland. Yo, thank you very much. Good morning to all you guys for coming through, man. Like I said, man, no doubt, man. Good for the Lakers, what they do, man. We have it for Lakers. Good for them for winning some games in the regular season. Remember, they won 18 of 21 games last season, heading into the middle end of March, like they were doing like this season now. They went 18 of 21. That's why everybody was saying, like, remember LeBron James was an MVP candidate? And we were like, wait a second. How was LeBron James an MVP candidate? Remember, they were putting LeBron James in MVP conversation last year. And same thing as last year, guys. You got this the same thing every year. And then what happens when it don't work out? You blame who? Darvin Ham, right? You blame Luka Doncic, Anthony Davis. Someone's gonna get blamed. Last year was Luka Doncic took so much heat last year because of the playoff loss that the man went and lost weight. He was on the cover of Men Health magazine. All of a sudden, he was a fitness guy. All of a sudden, he was working out. This man, he had to change his whole approach, apparently, because he's playing with LeBron James. Come on, man. The same scenario every season. But that's not what we're going to start the live show with today. We're not going to do that. All right? We ain't going to go down that road right now. Shout out to my man, NBA Sports News. Shout out to Davion, Armand Smith. Shout out to you guys. LeBron getting carried by two plumbers. I know these. You know what's funny? They've been making fun of white dudes for a long time to LeBron James fans. Remember all the white guys that look to make fun of? Guys that they laugh at Steve Kerr and John Paxson's and the Danny Ainges and the Dan Marleys and the Jeff Hornaceks. All these white guys that Michael Jordan played with and against, all this stuff. They love to laugh at all the white guys that played back in the 50s and the 60s. Meanwhile, LeBron James out here being carried by the white guys. And that's why we laugh. It's all coming back on you guys now. Everything's coming back. Because what you guys were saying back in them days, it didn't add up. It didn't make any sense. You guys sound like a bunch of fools. And now you got someone like Luka Doncic and Austin Reeves leading the way. I told you, look at their plus minus versus LeBron James plus minus. It's laughable right now. And this is what you get. LeBron James out there playing in the fourth quarters with the Lakers up 20. Like I said, chasing these weird records that don't make any sense. People started crying and moaning. Shout out to my man Ryan Cherry. Shout out to you. Good morning. But anyway, like I said, let's not get too crazy right now with that stuff yet. Because like I told you guys, I promised, again, that I would tell you guys a story about how I impersonated Nelly back in the day when I was it's in Sigonella in Sicily. My ship. I told you guys we went to Sicily back in the day in the early 2000s. This was actually in 2000 that we went to Sigonella, the base out there in Sigonella, Sicily. And I told you guys I impersonated Nelly to get into a club. Like it was like a bar, lounge, type of deal. It wasn't this? I wouldn't call it a club. I would call it maybe like a lounge, slash bar type of thing that we ended up getting into. But I told you guys I would hit you with that story before I talk about some other stuff that I wanted to mention. I wanted to shout out my man Will Chamberlain Archive. Shout out to my man Dan over at the Will Chamberlain Archive. I've talked to him behind the scenes personally. You guys know I've done a couple of live shows. Me and AOH have done a couple of live shows with the Will Chamberlain Archive. I wanted to touch on the latest video that he put out about Oscar Robertson and Jerry West and some of the things that he touched on. Once again, a true historian of the game of the Will Chamberlain Archive. So shout out to all the work that he continues to do. Because like I said, it's very important work when you talk about that kind of era and, not being that much, video footage and of stuff available, like a lot of the stuff, that we're able to get now, right? So I definitely wanted to talk about that. And I definitely wanted to, like I said, laugh at and talk about the Kevin Durant thing. But anyway, I'll tell you guys a quick story, man. I'll tell you guys a story, man. So story time with Sports and Fitness Rants. And once again, good morning to all you guys. Scaly Reptile, shout out to you, man. I saw your email. Shout out to you, man. I'm going to email you back, man. But once again, I appreciate you reaching out. Like I said, man, you guys truly humble me. A shout out to my man, Cameron MCOC. Like I said, it means a lot, guys. So again, like I told you guys, man, you guys know that I was in the Navy for 4 years, man, from 1999 to 2003. So again, I've told you guys, some stories, about my time in the military and some of the places that I've went to. And like I said, man, I really enjoy. I enjoy the fact that you guys enjoy listening to some of the things that I say when I'm telling some of these stories. Shout out to everybody out there in Australia, my man, Great Twist. Shout out to you, man. I probably jacked your name all up. But good evening out there in Australia, man, because it's the morning out here for me out here in New York. So shout out to everybody in Australia, man, because you guys have always been true supporters, man. Everybody out there in Australia, out there in New Zealand, like I said, you guys have always been one of the top countries representing. So again, yeah, man, I told you guys, Aunt Weston, what up, man? Good morning. Shout out to you. So one of the places that we went to Sicily one of the times, right? So I went on 2 deployments, right? 2 deployments, and we went to several different places, excuse me, on both deployments. Now, both deployments were 2 different, scenarios. But the first one I went on, we went to some different places than the second one. So one of the places that we went to on my first deployment was Sicily, right? We stopped at Sicily. I think we were there for maybe I want to say 3 or 4 days, maybe something like that. We were there. And, sometimes depending on how long you're at a certain country, because you're not at every country for the same amount of time, right? Sometimes we were at countries for 4 or 5 days. Sometimes maybe we were at country for maybe 3 days, right? So, there was always a variation here of maybe a day or two, how long you were at some of these countries. Sometimes they would change it. We thought we were going to one place, and all of a sudden, the last minute, it would change to another country or a different place that we weren't going to go to. I told you guys that story about when I went to Malta, or maybe I didn't tell you guys about the story from Malta. But when we went to Malta, that wasn't supposed to be our destination originally, and we ended up going there. To me, that was one of the most beautiful places I've ever been to in my life. And once again, I got some crazy stories from that place as well. But anyway, we went to Sicily, right? And one of the coolest things, guys, about Sicily, or about when we were pulling into the actual port, right? Because there's a naval base there, right? It's in Sigonella, right? So we're pulling in there. And shout out to anybody that's from around Sicily or the Italy area. Again, I told you, my grandmother was from Naples, Italy. So again, shout out to McZuggins. Thank you very much. Good morning to all you guys, like I said, for coming through, or good evening, wherever you guys are from. Jermaine Grantham, once again, shout out to you guys. As we were pulling in to port at Sigonella, there's a volcano there, right? And I never, like I said, I never traveled when I was growing up, guys. We didn't go places like that. My family, we didn't go on airplanes and, go to different countries. And, I remember one of my friends growing up, when I was in high school, his family, every year they would travel to a different country. I remember he would go skiing in the Swiss Alps, what I'm saying, on summer vacation, right? I knew kids like that, what I'm saying? So, we all grew up differently. But anyway, I didn't travel a lot to all these different places. So I told you, for me, traveling to a lot of these countries, like I said, especially that first deployment, man, it was different. I was blown away, man. Like I said, blown away. I was like, wide-eyed in some of these places, man. I couldn't believe some of the things that I was seeing. I couldn't believe I was there. I was like, damn, I can't believe I'm here. Like, I'm here, man. Like, this is nuts right now. You know what I'm saying? And there I was out there in Sigonella, or pulling into Sicily, right? A place that I never thought I would ever be going to. And there was a volcano there, Mount Etna. I believe it was Mount Etna. It's called Mount Etna, ETNA, I believe. Once again, I'm not a historian or a person that knows everything. But Mount Etna, I believe, is the name of this volcano, right? That's there in Sicily, right? So as we're pulling in, guys, this is a true story, no lie, man. We're pulling into this port, man, right? I mean, guys, when I'm telling you these stories, sometimes, like when I'm thinking, I can visualize this, guys. I can still see it. I can still, like, I'm still there seeing. Because a lot of times when we're pulling into these ports, we have jobs to do on the ship. And I was part of manning the ropes, manning the lines, right? So you're out there manning the lines as the ship is pulling into these countries, right? We all have a station to do. So when you get to a ship, especially when you're low on the boat, exactly, when you get there, you're low ranking, man. You got to start the bottom. And those tough jobs in your division, you got to man them lines. That's a dangerous job out there, man. You can get maimed out there with the mooring lines, man. Some thick ropes, man. Anyway. So you're out there, as the ship is pulling in, you're seeing this beautiful coastline, man. I mean, the water is like this navy color. The Mediterranean is different, man. It's insane. Like when you're out there, like I said, on the water, man, and you pulling in, man, it's beautiful stuff, man. So when we're pulling in, the volcano's erupting, right? It's just a normal thing, I guess, right? And we're pulling in, guys, and all of a sudden it's like it's snowing, right? Like that's what I thought. I thought it was snow. I was like, yo, this is crazy. Like, it's snowing, we're pulling in, and all this stuff is falling on us. But we quickly realized, looking down, looking at our clothes, that this is not snow. This is volcanic ash that's coming out of the sky. Guys, I'm talking about chunks like this, like giant snowflake chunks of volcanic ash just falling out of the sky as we're pulling into this country. Insane. I remember when we pulled in there, right? And all this stuff is coming down and we're doing whatever we're doing. We went out in town that first day and we're out in the town, right? And we're in a taxi cab and this volcanic ash is just coming down. And it's like a normal thing for these people. No one's freaking out about it. People are going around, they have like the mat, the things covering their face when they're walking around. Cars are covered in volcanic ash, thick layers of volcanic ash on all the vehicles in the street, on the sidewalks. Guys, I was like, I can't believe this, man. I was sitting in the car, guys. Crazy stuff. So cool, man. Like I said, it was cool, man. To me, I thought it was the coolest thing ever. I said, these images in my mind, the memories that I have of this stuff. So anyway, I told you, I think we were there for like 3 or 4 days. So the next day, the next night, like the first like full night that we were there, we go out in the town, right? So we're out there at nighttime. All right, guys? Now, this is, once again, this is a true story, guys. So again, now, I told you guys, how I dress. I dress like hip hop, right? That's how I dressed. Like I said, this is 2000. All right, this is 2000, right? And I dress in hip hop. I've told you guys about a lot of the stuff that I wore, the Wu wear and the Sean John used to wear and the Rocker wear. Academics was one of my favorite clothing lines. I remember just wearing a lot of these different styles, back in them days, man. It was almost like every hip hop artist had their own clothing line, right? And, fashion and hip hop go hand in hand. So, a lot of times, this is how I dressed, right? So I had the do-rags and, I had the 2-color do-rags with like one color on one side and the other color on the other side. And if anyone knows do-rags or wore do-rags, then you understand, like, there were so many different ways that you can, tie a do-rag, right? So many different ways. And there was, different reasons why people were wearing do-rags, at the time. Obviously, it was a fashion statement, right? But not only was it a fashion statement, people used to try to get the quote unquote waves. So you usually try to get the waves, make your hair really wavy, right? And we'd get the 360 Sport and Waves cream, right? And you'd rub it on your hair, the Murrays, right? One of these things, right? The Royal Crown stuff, and you put it on there and you get the brush and you brush it down and you put that do-rag on, man, right? And you'd have that down. And I remember, that was part of what I did. You know what I'm saying? Like I would have the do-rag on a lot of times back in them days, and I had different styles, and I would wear different do-rags with different outfits. And, so we all know that, like, Nelly and Nelly was hot at that time in the early 2000s, right? This is when he was, first coming out. And I remember, that was his style too, right? The do-rags and, how they wore the do-rag with the two colors and all this stuff. So we all understand fashion and what I'm talking about here, right? But there were so many different ways, like I told you, that you could tie the do-rag, for, like I said, however you want to make it look or whatever the case may be. And I could tie the do-rag so many different ways. And it was almost like an art to this stuff, right? And like I said, there was a thing where like you coordinated, like my man from Boomerang, like you coordinate, right? You coordinated the do-rags with your outfit. So I also told you guys, so this is how I'm dressed, right? I got the do-rag on, the two-color do-rag. I got the hat tilted to the side. You guys know, but the guys, obviously you guys see that I'm into headgear, not only because I'm bald, but I've always been into headgear. That's really nothing to do with me being bald, but I've always been into hats. I remember I used to collect hats. I used to have a whole like closet full of hats, like of different hats, man, that some hats I didn't even want to wear because they were so nice and they were like, almost like collector's items. But I was big into headgear. So I had all these different hats and do-rags for days, man. I mean, do-rags for days. I had a backup do-rag for every color. Right? Air Force Ones. Always had a fresh pair of Air Force Ones. Had to always have at least one pair of Air Force Ones, right? I usually had at least one pair like Timberland boots, right? I had at least one pair somewhere around there, man. You know what I'm saying? And you try to keep them clean, man. Them joints was expensive, and you tried to all the time, man. I mean, anyway. So this is how I'm dressed, and I told you, we're rolling out there with my people, man. I'm out there, and I told you, we're in another country. We stand out. You know what I'm saying? I'm not obviously a dark-skinned dude or whatever, but I'm brown. Right, so I'm out there, and all the dudes I'm rolling with, these all dudes black, man. We all minorities, man. You know what I'm saying? So we out there, 4 or 5 deep. So when you got 4 or 5, black people out there in the streets of Sicily, you know what I'm saying? And we wherever we are, and we're looking the way that we're looking, you draw attention, right? Whether it's good or bad. A lot of times out there it was good. Like I said, it was a good attention. Like I said, people were very friendly. Like I said, I'm very humbled, and I really shout out to all those countries I went to. Because like I told you, I got some stories, and there was some interactions out there, and there was maybe some misunderstandings out there. But I tell you, man, I was impressed and amazed with how people treated us out there, especially the women, man. God damn, man. Shout out to the women out there, man. Y'all are just sensational. Once again, but like I said, just overall the people and how many people understood English and were able to communicate with us. No, they didn't speak perfect English, right? And they're mastered the English language, but I was impressed and amazed with all the people out there. And like I said, how they were able to understand us when we couldn't understand a damn word that they were saying. But they understood us, man. Like I said, they could interact and they were able to help us a lot of times out there. So shout out to all you guys, man, for real. All the countries that I went to. Like I said, I'm truly humbled, man. Once again, this is my experience that I'm giving you. All right? My experience with dealing with these people out here. So anyway, so this is where we are. I'm out there. We're chilling. So we're out there in the streets of Sicily. So we're on the corner, guys, right? And it's like, I don't know if it was like I'm trying to remember what it was, like some kind of like pizza shop or something like that. Remember, we're in Sicily, guys. So pizza and stuff is different out there. I ain't like America, the way that they have to. So we were at some kind of like restaurant, but there was almost like some chairs out there, right? And it was like something like that, right? And there was some tables, and it was on a corner, right? And it was like a setup where you have almost like it wasn't like there was a street. And I'm trying to describe it the best I can for you guys, but the streets in these countries is not like a street in America. It's different. The streets are different. These streets are a lot smaller than our. Like there was no lines in these countries in the streets. I remember going in Naples. There was no lines out there anywhere. I was like, yo, there's no lines out here in the streets. It was crazy to me, man. Yo, shout out to my man, AOH, for coming through. I'm in the middle of a story. Hold up, yo. So anyway, so I'm trying to give you guys a description of how it is. So it's like a little area here. They said they kind of went off, and it was like, I don't know if it was like, there wasn't streets there. So there was people kind of congregate, a bunch of people there, like a bunch of young people in this area. So I don't know if it was like the hangout spot or the spot to be, you know what I'm saying, in this area, but that's what we ended up being. right? So we're there. So now a lot of these people, they start staring at us, right? I mean, they're looking at us hard right now, guys. Not like beef, not like, oh, they want to come over here and start. They're looking at me and my friends like they know us, right? They recognize us. Oh, we've been here before. Hey, remember those guys from last week? They're back. No, like they look at us like that. So we're standing there. My friend goes to get something to eat, right? And he comes out of the restaurant, right? He comes out the restaurant. So he comes out of the restaurant. We're all standing there chilling, right? And we're like trying to find some place to go and hang out, right? So we see there's like a nightclub or some kind of lounge or something like that right here on the corner. Like I said, it's like a little walkway here, and where we're all hanging out. All these people are here. So we're there hanging out, and all these people are looking at us. People are, talking to each other. Shout out to my man, the real Siberius. And all of a sudden, they approach us. People approach us. And a guy comes up to us, right? One of the guys, and he says, "Are you Nelly?" Guys, I swear to God, this is what the guy says to me. "Are you Nelly?" And I looked at my friends, right? And we started laughing because obviously I'm not Nelly, right? I'm not Nelly, guys. I've never been Nelly. I've never said I was Nelly. I never considered myself someone who looked like Nelly, where people would mistake me for him. But again, I'm not in America. So again, we're out there, and this is what the guy asked me. So I can say right away, no, but we start laughing, assuming that they're going to obviously know I'm not Nelly, and we think that they're being funny about this, right? Making a joke to us. But guys, they weren't joking. They were not joking. So remember, this is before the age of cell phones and, internet and YouTube. This is 2000. All right. Not saying there were no such thing as cell phones, but cell phones are not like they are now. No, I didn't have a cell phone. None of us had cell phones. There were no cell phones around. It wasn't like people were like, yo, Nelly's out here in Sicily, y'all. This is crazy. And I'm like, yo, what up? And people are like, yo, that ain't Nelly. And then Nelly's going to call the people up and be like, yo, man, put that dude on the phone right now. And if they, yo, Nelly's want to talk to you, but Nelly want to talk to me. And if, yo, man, you ain't me. You know what I'm saying? It ain't like that. It ain't like everybody's walking around with their phones out, videotaping me and my boys walking around Sicily. I was like, yo, Nelly and his entourage. It ain't like that. They think I'm him just based off of what they've seen maybe on a TV show, on a commercial or something, or a rap video. You know what I'm saying? Maybe in a magazine. That's where they know him from. Not from the internet where they can pull him up on the internet right there on the spot and be like, yo, I don't know, man. Is that him? I don't know. That ain't him. You know what I'm saying? It was never like that. So in that instance, I realized, and we realized, that they're serious about this. They really believe that I am Nelly. So we start to talk to them, right? And we're asking them where we can go to hang out. Like, hey, yo, I'm Nelly kind of like. Now, I'm not really saying it, but we're kind of just, hey, like, yo, where can we go hang out? Like, yo, we're cool. Like, y'all cool. Y'all seem cool. You guys down with Nelly? And we start asking them, yo, you guys know Nelly? You guys like hip-hop? You guys like rap music? And we're out there in Sicily with all the Sicilians, you know what I'm saying, talking about rap music and talking about, yo, man, and we're surrounded by a group of people. Guys, I'm talking about, it's got to be at least, dozens of people right around us now. So that's when they tell us that right there is a really nice spot to go chill, like a lounge, club, night, whatever you want to call it. So we go there. So, guys, I'm walking with my friends and a whole entourage of people. And we walk up, and there's a guy, obviously there's a guy standing outside the door. And originally they wouldn't let us in, right? So he's like, hey, whatever. So all of a sudden, the people that are there, they start talking to this guy. Guys, I'm telling you something right now. They told them that I'm Nelly. That's what they told these people. And that they didn't know who I was. So they were explaining to these people, like, yo, let this dude in. Like, this dude is Nelly. Like, you don't know who this guy is? Like, this guy's legit. Guys, we went up in there. I went in there as Nelly. Guys, it's a true story, man. We spent the whole night in there, me and my friends. And the entire night, they thought that I was Nelly, man. So once again, shout out to everybody out there in Sicily. shout out to Nelly and his crew. I did not receive any money from this. So I don't want to hear anybody try to sue me or Nelly try to tell me that I gained some royalties off his name. I did not receive any money from this. None of this stuff. I'm not even a drinker like that. I don't even remember if I got free drinks. I don't even remember if we got free drinks like that. All I know is I was allowed to go in there because I was who I was or who they thought I was. And they were telling them, hey, man, this guy is cool. He's somebody. And a lot of those people wanted to go in there because I was there or Nelly was there. So I was helping bring business to their establishment. That's essentially why they let me in there, because when I walked up to the door, originally they were like, yo, who are y'all, man? And I was like, yo, we're trying to come up in here. And they was like, yo, we rolling with this guy, man. You don't know who he is? Yeah, man. You know, a lot of you guys would be like, yo, this dude sounds like DMX. I told you, when I first started working at the jail, people were telling me I looked like Drake. I didn't even know who Drake was. And they were telling me I looked like Drake. So I was cracking up sometimes because, I've never been, like I said, in a scenario where someone really thought I was somebody. People might just say, oh, you sound like this guy, or, you look kind of like him, or you remind me, of this dude. But like I said, I didn't tell people I was Nelly. They really believed I was. And the way that I was dressed, I can absolutely see it. If I can go back and find an old photo, like if I can find an old photo of how I would dress or how I was dressed, you know what I'm saying? Like, and give you guys an example so you can like visualize it. But just think about the do-rag on with the two-colored do-rag, right? Just think about the hat to the side, right? I mean, just think about that just off the jump, all right? And then the way that I look, and as a younger version, obviously, of me, there is no beard here involved. You know what I'm saying? Like, I understand it, man. So, again, shout out to all them dudes out there. Again, shout out to all you guys. Shout out to the bandit. No, I didn't have the bandit on my eye. Shout out to my man out there. Yo, shout out to the Real Side Beers. Hamses, what up? Machiavelli Don. Oh, my goodness. Yo, they really did, yo. I'm telling you, man, it's crazy, man. Yo, for real, your RC 900, they did, man. I'm not going to lie, guys. I'm not lying to you. They thought it was, I didn't sign no autographs, none of that stuff. It wasn't like, I said, it wasn't like that. So I said, shout out to the people out there, because it was almost like they were happy just to be in the club where I was at, or in, like I said, that lounge area where I was, and like I said, they were more happy that they met me almost. It wasn't, I mean, listen, I don't know if they're telling this story, to their kids, or telling this story that to their friends, if these guys are still talking about that story, and maybe later on they realized that I wasn't Nelly, but for that night, I was repping as Nelly up in Sicily, man. So once again, I'll shout out to my man Nelly, man. It was crazy. I'm not gonna lie, because when I was doing this, or when we were like attempting to keep this kind of lie going, we were doing the George Costanza. I was impersonating and being somebody that I'm not. I was being a marine biologist. I was being a famous rapper. I was concerned about that. I was worried about maybe walking into this nightclub and them asking me to get on the microphone and, do something, or it being a scenario where, like I said, people are asking me for autographs, or it's becoming like a thing. But like I said, this is 2000. So, I'm not saying that Nelly, is not a famous person or is not a popular person, but at that time, the popularity was, this is when he was, banging, blowing up, and like I said, this is not like now where it's different. As far as I said, people act and stuff like that. Then people was chill, man. Like I said, I was just chilling there. Once again, man, like I said, I didn't receive anything for this. They didn't give me any award. I didn't get a key to the city or anything out there. So again, man, shout out to all you guys. But yeah, I told you guys I wanted to tell you guys that story. That was pretty funny to me, man. I said I'll never forget. Once again, it was crazy how the volcanic ash was coming down. Shout out to my man AOH. I saw AOH out there. I don't know if he's still around. So forgive me, AOH. So again, good morning to all you guys. Again, I wanted to also shout out my man. I told you guys the Will Chamberlain Archive, because yeah, for real, I would have been stuck, Terrence Potts. I would have to bust something out. And I tell you right now, at the time, I definitely could have busted out some Nelly verses. I definitely could have, tried to play the part if it came down to it. But come on, man, like that would have been some crazy stuff, man. I probably would have to tell him, like, listen, man, come on, guys, I'm not Nelly, man. Like, this is getting silly now. Like, I told you that initially, like, we kept saying to ourselves, there's no way that they believe this. Like, they're messing with us. That's what I said initially. We were like, yo, y'all know Nelly? Like, you guys know hip hop? Like, we thought we were messing around. Like, how do you guys even know who Nelly was? Like, I was completely blown away. But they really thought that I was him. It just, like I said, it just went down that way. It was crazy. But like I told you guys, shout out to everybody out there in them countries. Like I told you, it was mad chill. The hospitality that we felt in a lot of those places. Like I said, it's a long time ago. I don't know how people feel about Americans now, man. You know, a lot of people, you know, they hate us now and stuff. You know, we all jacked up in America. We've been acting like a bunch of idiots and stuff, man. And we lost our ways and stuff, man. So people are losing respect for us. But back then, man, I said the hospitality was amazing. Like I said, if people spoke English, I couldn't believe it, man. I was like, this is insane. So shout out to you guys, man. But yeah, I wanted to talk about my man, Will Chamberlain Archive, because he did a really good video, a pretty lengthy video. And like I said, it's really good to see my man Dan over at the Will Chamberlain Archive come out with another video because, you know, when we talk about being a historian, you know, of basketball, and we're talking about, you know, the game, pushing the game forward, right, and giving out the education, you know, because like I told you, we can all come to different conclusions by watching or getting the same facts, right? So, you know, if you're learning from someone, like I said, who I consider, and he considers himself, you know, he takes pride in being a historian of the game. I told you, I'm not a historian of the game. I don't consider myself a historian of basketball, right? I listen to historians of the game. You know, if you want to call me a historian of the 80s and 90s, you know, maybe I'll consider myself a historian of the 90s or something like that. However, I would never consider myself a legit historian of the game, you know, going back to the 50s or the 60s, the 70s, you know, these kinds of time periods where some of these other people who do the actual real research and who are going to give you the actual real results, like this guy, Dan, over at the Will Chamberlain Archive, he's not giving you, you know, a bunch of his emotions and opinions in these videos. What he's giving you is the facts in the video footage, right? And his interpretation of the facts, right? What the information that he gets, right? All the research he's done and his interpretation, his understanding of those facts. So what he's giving you in this video with Oscar Robertson and Jerry West is, again, he's giving you the facts. First and foremost, you're getting the video footage, which is really hard to get, by the way. The video footage, you know, small amounts of video footage that's actually available that he's able to give you, but he's also able to give you guys' explanations, right? So you're listening to guys who played back in these eras, people who covered the game back then, right? And how they had to play the game, right? And why players or guys like Oscar Robertson, the Jerry Wests, why they were so effective in these eras to the degree that they were, you know, being recognized as the two greatest guards of their era, Oscar Robertson and Jerry West, right? So again, when you talk about the Will Chamberlain Archive, and you know, you hear the things that he's talking about in these videos, and you see the skills, right, that you know you had to play with back in those eras, and you're watching someone like Oscar Robertson. One of the things that stood out to me that I didn't always really, I guess, realize about someone like Oscar Robertson, and he talks about it, you know, initially in the video, is the size of Oscar Robertson, right? The size of Oscar Robertson. He's talking about, you know, him being about the same size as Michael Jordan, you know, without sneakers on, barefoot. And how they measured guys back then and how they listed them was a lot differently than how they started to list guys later on, when they would, you know, measure guys and list them with sneakers on, where they would list guys with their heights barefoot, you know, back in those days. So he talked about the size of Oscar Robertson height-wise, but also the size muscular-wise, the weight of an Oscar Robertson, you know, being about 220 pounds when he played Oscar Robertson, man. So when you think about the size that he was, this is why, you know, one of the reasons he was effective with his back to the basket, the way that he could use his body, right? The way he can angle himself. This is why you're able to get rebounds at the level that Oscar Robertson was able to get, right? This is why you're able to play an overall game the way that he played. So when they talk about guards, you know, and, you know, or he's talking about positions of the Will Chamberlain Archive, he's talking about how back in those days, it was mostly, you know, thought about and talked about as guards, forwards, and centers, right? where it wasn't always necessarily, hey, it's a point guard or a shooting guard necessarily, or a power forward and a small forward necessarily, but it was mostly forwards, guards, and centers. That's how they were thought about. When you think about guys like Jerry West and the Oscar Robertsons, these are guys that could play either position, point guard or shooting guard. I told you guys, for me, I look at Oscar Robertson as a point guard, right? We all think about Oscar Robertson as a point guard and Jerry West as a point guard or a shooting guard. I think of Jerry West as a shooting guard, but you could vote him or rank him as a point guard or think about him as a point guard. These guys could play either one of those positions, all right? Not only because of their size, but also their athleticism, their abilities, what they could do on both sides of the ball. Oscar Robertson and Jerry West, the impact they can have. So when he's talking about the size of someone like Oscar Robertson, and he's highlighting this in the video footage, and you're hearing the audio from guys who played against Oscar Robertson and how he was able, to use his strength and how strong he actually was, this is what it helps to understand someone like Oscar Robertson, right? And understand what he brought to the table that maybe we didn't think about. Again, shout out to you guys, man. Yeah, man, for real. You guys know the deal. Shout out to my man, the real Siberius, for coming through the super. Shout out to Sports and Fitness Rants. Good morning. Appreciate the show. Again, man, thank you for always coming through. Like I said, you guys truly humble me coming through on a Sunday morning or a Sunday evening, wherever it is where you guys are from. It's a morning time for me, as you guys know. So again, I really appreciate you guys coming. I'm trying to give you guys the Friday and the Sunday thing consistently. Again, so, when we talk about the Wilt Chamberlain archive and we're talking about, what he was talking about Oscar Robertson, that was what I immediately, realized that I never really thought about with Oscar Robertson, the actual size of him and the strength that he played with, in that era. So once again, something that I didn't think about. Also when he talked about someone like Jerry West, and you guys know I've mentioned Jerry West on this channel a lot. And listen, when I was growing up and, I'm 7, 8, 9, 10 years old, and I'm, watching basketball and I'm, playing basketball. And I told you guys I was watching my dad play basketball in the streets, and, I'm listening to my dad talk about basketball with his friends, and, they have the radio on, right? And I'm listening to the games, right? And sometimes I go to my dad, my friend's house, my dad's friend's house, right? He takes me and my brothers, to his friend's house or something like that, right there. And we're there, and they have the game on or something like that in the background, and while we're running around. And, I remember some of this stuff. I remember hearing about guys like Oscar Robertson. And I've told you guys, the reason why I have respect for a lot of these players is not because I watch them. I did not watch these guys, not even close to watching a lot of these guys back in them days. I don't know those dudes. It's because what I remember hearing said about them. If my dad and his friends were always trashing Dr. J, oh yeah, Dr. J's nothing on Michael Jordan. He is nothing on, like, my dad never talked to me like that about Dr. J. None of these guys ever said this kind of stuff. I never remember hearing anybody trashing Oscar Robertson to lift up Magic Johnson. Oh, who's Oscar Robertson? He's nobody, man. He played against the bums, man. He played against white dudes. That's who he played against. He played against Jerry West. Who's Jerry West? I don't remember anyone talking like that. But that's what you get from people today. So people's children hear them saying this stuff. I mean, think about Nick Wright. He got children, doesn't he? And listen to what they have to hear him say about Michael Jordan. You're trashing Michael Jordan for what? To try to lift LeBron James above him. You're not doing a service for the NBA's history, but that's what we get from these guys. People talked about Oscar Robertson being arguably the greatest player of all time. When I was growing up, he was still being called that. Some people thought he was. I remember them talking about Oscar Robertson, I believe, being the first basketball player on Time Magazine. Oscar Robertson was on Time Magazine. So when you talk about the impact and, how these guys were thought about back then, that's why I say it doesn't make any sense. Like, how could they be thought of as being so great then, but now they're not great? That doesn't make any sense. It doesn't. If you want to say that someone's greater than that person, oh, I think he's greater, then great. Make the argument, the debate, whatever you think, why you think this person's greater, then make the argument. But you can't say, well, he's greater because he didn't play against anybody, right? Or you just think, oh, he didn't win this, right? Or he didn't do that. It can't just be blanket statements. That's what we get now, blanket statements. We get generalizations about our entire era, right? Everyone's trash. Everybody was working side jobs as a plumber or something else. And I told you, it doesn't add up to what you actually see and when you hear from someone like an actual true historian, like the basketball, or like the Wilt Chamberlain archive, when he's giving you the facts. So when I'm watching the film and I'm listening to the, audio of Jerry West, and how people are talking about Jerry West and how Jerry West played the game. Look at the fundamentals and the actual skills of Jerry West. Think about his jump shot. They had guys talking about when they played against Jerry West, right? And guys who played with Jerry West. And they talked about how he would take this last dribble, right? When he went into his jump shot, right? He'd have this last dribble where he dribbled one hard dribble, so the ball's coming up right into his shot. I never even realized that or thought about it like that. But then as I'm watching it, and then I'm listening to them say it, and you see Jerry West hit that dribble right into the jump shot. We all know about Jerry West and the pull-up jumper of Jerry West, but then you start thinking about the dribble that goes into it. And this is what comes off of that. So you have the one hard dribble, the pump fake, and you see Jerry West do this in the video footage. He's doing the up and under on the jump shot without traveling, without carrying the basketball, without manipulating the rules, without any of this stuff being afforded to him. This is what Jerry West was doing. So when you're going against a devastating defense like the Boston Celtics in the 60s, and you have guys on the perimeter, and you have guys like John Havlicek hounding you, right? Guys like Casey Jones on the perimeter. You have to worry about guys like Bill Russell down low, right? When you have this going on, you're still able to be effective, right? To a degree, because you have the skills and the fundamentals out there on the basketball court. So you see Jerry West and the hard dribble, bang. You can't even react to it. He's catching you off balance. You're playing defense. He dribbles. He's already into the shot. And it's almost impossible to defend. So this is what I see in the video footage. This is what he's giving you out here. Once again, shout out to you guys. Yeah, Kelly Young, that's a good question. Jerry West versus Michael Jordan, the pull-up. I would say, when I looked at Jerry West, the video footage I've seen of Jerry West, I would probably give him the edge to me on what I've seen him do. I said, when I see him with that dribble, when he has that dribble right into the shot, to me, I would give him the edge on that. To me, what Jordan has is, to me, the ability to be going at a certain speed, right? Because he's a greater an athlete, right? So he's able to me, go at a greater speed and pull up. To me, that's what I think he's better at. Using that physical athletic advantage, right? Using that and coming up into it. I think Jordan was great. Like sometimes you see Jordan come down on that like that and pull up. I think that was a little bit better. But to me, this is what Jerry, but think about it. He's doing that under more stringent rules than Michael Jordan, right? So, even in the 90s, guys were afforded, right, a little more leeway, with the basketball. Were they not? Yes, they were. We talk about the 90s all the time, to me, being an absolute perfect blend of the rules, the officiating, the three-point shot utilization, the guys, the way the teams played, teams played differently, right? Eastern versus Western Conference was looked at as different. You had a lot of different things which made the league balanced, right? Because differences create balance in the league. It wasn't everyone doing the same thing, or everybody, or most people trying to play a certain style, right? Or a lot of guys playing a similar style, right? Or coaches coaching a similar style, right? And, you get now a lot of blandness, right? To the game. Whereas to being back in the 90s, even though the officiating wasn't like the 50s or the 60s, it was still a level of officiating which kept the game beautiful, which kept the game, smooth to a degree. Now the game is weird sometimes when you watch this stuff. You're like, come on, man, that was just ridiculous. So I think that, either way, when you talk about what, Jerry West could do, on the court, the standard he was held to was greater than Michael Jordan's. That's what I tell you guys, man. Like, that's just the reality. They were held to a higher standard, right? And that's what the Will Chamberlain archive is always highlighting in his videos. That's why I tell you guys, you're being educated there. Because not only is he giving you video footage, right, to show you and really, you can see what these guys did, how they had to dribble the ball, how their crossovers had to be utilized, right? How they had to get to their spots on the court, the way that they had to maneuver their bodies because they weren't afforded gather steps or these drag steps or these weird, step backs and, cha-cha slides and, all this weird nonsense, man. And I'm all for expanding the game, right? And creating a level of freedom, right? So that players can showcase their talents, right? I get all of that. But we have to also keep basketball. Because what makes basketball players so great, like the professionals, so great, why they get paid so much money, right? Why they get all the fame, is because they're supposed to be doing things that no one else could do at that level. So if we lower the level, it's almost like when you get to the pros, it gets easier. It's like, oh yeah, now when you get to the pros, it's like, hey, if I could do this in here, like, I mean, I told you the street ball standards are more stringent, it seems, in the NBA. You're not going to get away from this stuff on the street ball. I've never seen people get away with half the stuff the NBA players get away with on a street ball court, guys. And I'm just speaking from my experience that I currently play out in the parks. I don't see people getting away with this stuff. People call this stuff. You're not going to travel like this. You're not going to do this nonsense. And you have people out here telling you, hey, man, hey, if you really look at the rule book, they're allowed to take one. They're allowed to take a two-step here because he's really only holding the ball there. He's not like, if you have to explain it to me that much, then it's a travel. It's a damn travel. I don't want any explanations like that, man. When I see it, you know, that's travel, man. Get that out of here. That's nonsense, man. Yeah, sometimes a play might be close, and you're like, I don't know that was close. But a lot of these things that we see now, these are egregious travels. These are not borderline. These are not close. These are like, yo, man, come on. This is laughable. So that's what I see out there, you know, during those eras. You know, like I said, the size of someone like Oscar Robertson, I think it's underestimated, right? I think it's forgotten. I told you, I didn't really think about it like that or realize it, of the size and strength of Oscar Robertson. I mean, when you think about Jerry West and Oscar Robertson, I told you, like, when you think about the guards of that era, you know, those are the premier guys, you know, Walt Clyde Frazier. You know, but you think about, you know, those guys as like the premier guards, you know, during that time, you know, and I tell you, you're thinking about, you know, their games and what they could do. Jerry West, all around play, guys. I mean, you know, we think about, you know, Oscar Robertson averaging a triple-double. So he gets thought about, right, as the overall all-around player, right? He could do everything on the court, Oscar Robertson, a little bit of everything. He influenced passing, rebounding, right? He uses that size to be effective in these areas. Well, Jerry West's career high for rebounds in a game was 24. 24. He had 24 rebound games, Jerry West. Oscar Robertson, I believe, game high for a career in rebound, I believe, was 22. Also, Jerry West's career high in assists for a game. 23 assists he had in a game. And remember, these are real legit assists, guys. These are not fake, phony assists where Jerry West is passing the ball, a guy's doing 5,000 fakes, 10,000 dribbles through the legs, around the back, and then makes a shot, and Jerry West gets the assist. These are passes where Jerry West is passing the ball, and someone's either going immediately into the shot, like a layup or something, or they're getting the ball, maybe a pump fake, and they're shooting the ball, man. Right? I mean, it's insane. So I believe his highest was 23. I believe Oscar Robertson's most assists in a game, I believe, was 22. So when you look at their overall play and how they can impact different areas of the court, like I said, people sleep on Jerry West and his rebounding ability at the guard position, of what he could do. Remember, this is an era where, yeah, the pace might be quote unquote high because shots are going up, guys are getting up and down the court. But at the same time, guys are also down low battling for rebounds, right? These are not a bunch of rebounds where Jerry West is just standing there and the ball's bouncing to him and he's gathering the rebound and going down court. Like, he has to actually go get these rebounds. He has to take elbows for some of these rebounds. He has to bang into guys for some of these rebounds, right? You know, a lot of this stuff is all about predicated on hustle. The hustle and the effort you give. That's why these guys didn't play for 20 seasons, because it was physically impossible for you to give that level of effort during that kind of era, under those kinds of conditions. Physically impossible. That's why someone like Kareem Abdul-Jabbar was always respected, because you're dealing with a level of physicality, right? You're dealing with a level of attrition all these years playing under those conditions, and it's not easy to do, right? It's rare. No one does it. Right now, guys could play 17, 18 years, 19 years. It's not a big deal. They can miss games here, miss games there. And the games that they do play, you're not giving anywhere near the level of effort. You're not playing under near the level, like I said, of attrition, like I said, or under standards, right? Under the same conditions as those guys were. So it's a lot harder to do. Absolutely, guys. A shout out to you guys out there. A shout out to my man, Posh King. Yeah, you guys know these are the facts out here. Yo, King C, shout out to you, man, for real, for coming through. Like I said, when you think about, like I said, what these guys back in the day could do, like if Jerry West was crap, you know, if Oscar Robertson was crap, I was telling you guys, you know, the way that my father talked about a lot of these guys, right? The way that I heard people on the broadcast booth. I mean, think about what we say it all the time, right, guys? When you listen to the broadcast booth back in the day, like those guys, like even people on ESPN, they would put props and respect on the past guys. I don't know what happened here. It's not the same anymore, though. You're not getting education. Now you're getting all opinion, all feeling and emotion. Opinion is great. Everyone's opinion is great. Feelings are great. Emotions are great. We all feel a certain way. We're all emotional, right? We all have these kinds of feelings, right? That's great. We have opinions. But I told you, give out the facts. Make your opinion. Give the facts out. I told you. That's what the guy in the Will Chamberlain archive does. He's giving his opinion, right? And over the facts, he's giving you his perspective, right? His understanding of the facts, how he sees it, his perspective on this. But he's giving you the facts. Maybe you feel differently than he feels. Maybe you see it different than he sees it. He's giving you his opinion based off of all the information that he's gotten. This is what he's telling you right now. He's not giving you a bunch of feelings and just being all emotional here and saying, oh, yeah, the guys back in the day, were so much greater because the guys say are crap. That's not what he says. That's not what he talks about. He don't have to say that. What he's doing is he's helping you understand how they played the game, how the game was played, why it was played this way. And in fact, these guys were actually a lot greater than what they're trying to say. That's what he does. That's why you need people like the Will Chamberlain archive, and people need to take some time to watch some of his videos. And like I said, really just listen and watch. Don't be weird about it. You know what I'm saying? Don't watch the videos and be, I'll get the way they're playing. Just listen, understand it. Or if you listen, you will understand it. And one of the things I want to mention before I switch off to something else, again, like I said, shout out to all you guys for coming through, man. It means a lot. Forgive me, I think I see some supers here. Shout out to the Golden Eagle 99. This is a part of the reason why I think parts of the culture of basketball is being lost. The history isn't being passed down or respected. Past grades get a lack of respect. Shout out to the Gold Eagle again for coming through. Thank you, I said, for participating and like I said, adding to the live for real today. Like I said, it means a lot that you guys come through. And that's what it is, man. I told you guys, I know we don't agree on everything. You guys don't agree on everything I say. Sometimes I go off on a rant and, you guys might be like, oh, this guy's just talking crazy right now. I don't, sometimes I'm saying whatever. But I'm just trying to give you the facts. And I'm trying to give you how, the facts, how I see it, right? Like how I understand it, like what I'm getting from this, right? What I've learned from people. I've listened to people that know more than me, right? I've never looked at some of these people, someone like a Will Chamberlain archive and thought to myself, this guy don't know what he's talking about. You know what I'm saying? Because like I said, if I thought that, I wouldn't be shouting his channel out. I wouldn't be listening to the videos. So again, I listen to what he has to say. I watch the video and it makes sense to me. It's not like I'm watching it. I'm listening to what he has to say. And I'm like, this guy doesn't know what he's talking about. That's not what I see. What he's saying and what he's explaining is exactly how I see it. Exactly what I'm seeing. And exactly how I would understand it the same way. So again, I'm not saying I'm a genius. Not saying I know anything. I don't consider myself a historian. But I'm always trying to give you guys the facts. And I give you guys my opinion and perspective off of those facts. Maybe you don't see those facts how I see it, right? Maybe you think those guys back in the day couldn't dribble. Maybe you think they are a joke. Maybe you don't think there was any competition. Maybe you think they weren't going against anybody. Maybe that's how you see it, but that's not how I see it because I think about other things. Remember, it's a combination of things. There's a lot of stuff that he talks about in these videos, right? Like about certain players, like I said, why they had to play the game a certain way. There's different factors involved here. Another point that he mentioned, once again, shout out to the Gold Eagle, again, for coming through, is he talked about how there's not a lot of video footage available, on a lot of these great players. So he mentioned how most of the video footage that you can find, that you can get, that you had back then, was followed or based off of the great players, the Bill Russells, right? So you get a lot of Boston Celtics video footage or Will Chamberlain video footage, right? Or the Lakers with Jerry West and Elgin Baylor video footage, right? You get some of those kinds of players, right? Oscar Robertson video footage. These are the great players. But you don't get a lot of video footage on the quote-unquote other guys, the other great players of those eras, right? Because it wasn't around and available like that. So this is part of the problem he talks about, for pushing the history of the game or bringing back the history of the game and helping people understand it. There's not a lot of video footage to bring out or to find. It's very hard to find this stuff, right? Because it's not available. Again, man, a shout out to you guys, man. Shout out to Cameron MCOC for coming through. Logic is non-existent in the NBA sphere. Yeah, like I said, it just doesn't make any sense to me. It doesn't add up how people think about the NBA today versus back in the day. And like I told you, we don't see, like, when we talking about the NBA being soft today, we're not tearing the NBA down, right? That's not all you guys tearing it down. No, the NBA is soft. It's a softer version of what it used to be. That is a factual statement. That's not my opinion. That's not my emotion. That's not my feeling. That's a factual statement on the NBA right now. It is a softer version of what it used to be, right? We know the rule changes, but also the mentality of the players, right? Overall, in general, not saying there aren't tough guys in the NBA, but overall, the general consensus and the feeling is these guys are not as tough as the guys back in the day, right? They don't care as much about the game as guys back in the day, right? We understand and we can see a lot of this stuff. So the game is played differently. There's a different feeling that we get from these guys. That's not us making that up. That's just the facts of the matter. That is not a feeling that I have. That's the truth, guys. All right? And how do we know this? Because we watched this stuff. We watched the game back in the day. You've seen it. Everyone knows it. Anyone associated with those eras of NBA know the game was a lot more physical back then. It was a much harsher reality. But they're trying to tell you that the guys have it harder today. Oh, it's so hard to play 82 games. Are you kidding me? It should be so much easier. I told you, they should be extending the games played by the NBA players. They should be playing like 85 games, 90 games at this point. You're promoting them as bigger, stronger, faster, more skilled, all this stuff, right? Everything is greater now. Everything is advanced. Everything's better. Then if that's the case, if we're smart, be like, oh, we're smarter today. No, we're not, man. We're a bunch of dummies out here. Are you kidding me? Society as a whole, we're a bunch of fools. We're dumb. You got people believing dumb things, people thinking dumb things, people doing dumb things more often now. More often now. It's just we're getting dumber as a society. We ain't smarter today. We're smarter today. We had to be smarter back in the day. And why is that? Because of all the comfort and convenience that's afforded to us today. Some people don't even know how to run. If you told them to go outside and run right now, they wouldn't even know how to do it. They're going to run. They're just going to do it. And whenever you told someone to go jump right now, they couldn't jump. We can't even do simple, everyday tasks anymore. But you got people go, yeah, we're smarter now than we were before. We're a bunch of dummies out here. Some dumb-ass people. That's what the hell we are. Some dumb-ass people. People can't even change tires now. They get a flat tire, and people start panicking, man. They lose their Wi-Fi, and they freak the hell out. Like, come on, man. I don't understand how we're smarter today. Everyone has to look for an answer on the computer. I mean, they said people didn't have those advantages afforded to them back in the day, right? We talked about some of this stuff, man. So please, I tell you, miss me. I mean, think about some of the fitness gimmicks you see today. This insane stuff. I saw a guy came out with a thing called the Jazzercise. The Jazzercise. Listen, no disrespect to anybody that bought the Jazzercise, man. All right? No disrespect to you. But this is laughable stuff, man. All right? We're buying something to chew on to strengthen our jaw and our mouth muscle. I don't even know what the hell we're doing right now in society. All right? I mean, like, this is insane. You don't need to chew on something to build up your jaw muscles or whatever the hell you're building up. I mean, this is insane to me, the level of gimmicks that we've come out here in society. I mean, this is where we are now. This is not smart inventions. These are dumb inventions. You know why? Because all this does is make us lazier. Lazier. We got lazy in society, man. So once again, this is how you become dumb, because you become lazy, right? Laziness breeds laziness in the mind, in the body, everything. So again, I'm rambling on here. Rambling on, guys. I wanted to, oh man, I said in my eye, hold on. I wanted to touch on something briefly here. I wanted to touch on something that I saw. Shout out to Carlos Rivera, because he sent me this new commercial. Did you guys know that Scottie Pippen's got a new commercial, I guess, with Mr. Pip the soda? There's a soda, right? I believe it was on back in the day. But Scottie Pippen, shout out to Terrence Potts. Scottie Pippen got a commercial coming out. So shout out to Carlos Rivera because he sent me the link, and I saw a clip of this. And in this commercial, I don't know if he's taking a shot at Michael Jordan in this commercial, but essentially it looks like he's doing a Last Dance interview type of deal here in this commercial. And, he's talking about, being known as the second greatest ever, the second best, or, sidekick or whatever. And he's talking about he's the GOAT. He calls himself the GOAT in the commercial, Scottie Pippen. So I thought that was interesting. Like I said, I don't know if you guys have seen the commercial. I don't know if the commercial's out yet or people are talking about this, but if it's even real. But I was sent the clip of Scottie Pippen doing a Mr. Pip commercial and calling himself the GOAT in the video. And I told you, it looks like he's doing a kind of like a Last Dance, and he talks about taking it personal in the commercial. He's taking it personal that he's recognized, as like a, second fiddle or, the best Robin type of deal. So yeah, I think this is going to be coming out soon. So you guys stand by for the new Scottie Pippen commercial. And like I said, Mr. Pip, I believe, like I said, I think it's a soda. I think it's like a cherry flavored soda, maybe, if I remember from seeing the commercial. So again, this is going to be pretty funny if they actually drop the commercial, and it is in fact what I saw. And he does actually say what he says in the commercial part that I saw. But yeah, he calls himself the GOAT. And like I said, it's not only that, but I said it's funny because I said he's almost doing like a imitation of Michael Jordan. Like he's doing like I did Nelly. He's doing the Michael Jordan, talking about taking it personal, and like I said, the way he's sitting there, doing like the one-on-one thing in the chair, just like really funny stuff, man. So I guess we'll have to see what Scottie Pippen is doing. But like I said, it's funny to me how they're using this now. Like I said, I think Mr. Pip wasn't around, like, and now they're like trying to come back out with it. So like, they're using Pippen as like the spokesman, and they're using that platform. So once again, a shout out to you guys, man. Yeah, he said that, right? Yeah, lifestyle, PR. That's what it's about, man. You're right about that. NY Raven Cross, Raven Cross. Shout out to you, 1567. It's weird. I tell you, they promote these guys. Like if you think, I'm sorry, I got something in my damn eye, man. It's bothering me right now, man. Like I mentioned that show, Spartacus, to you guys, right? I mentioned that show, Spartacus. And when you think about the show Spartacus, and they're talking about the gladiators, right, back in them times, right? And they would fight in the arena, right? And we've talked about some of this before, and we've talked about some of these movies, like the movie Gladiator itself, and a lot of us know, have heard about the Colosseum and these gladiators and some of these battles and some of these things. I mean, like really crazy stuff, right? When you think about possibly imagine if that was you, being dropped in the arena, and you have to fight to the death against, sometimes 2 or 3 different opponents, maybe. You never know what's going to be out there. You've seen all different kinds of stuff. Anyway, in the show Spartacus, and you're talking about the gladiators, a lot of the great gladiators, they had stories behind them, right? Like of battles, right? And they end up, earning a name, right? So in the show, you had a character by the name of Crixus, right? And his name was, right? He was the undefeated Gaul, right? That was his nickname. That was the name, the title given to him based off of his victories in the arena. He was undefeated, right? He was from Gallia, right? And he was called the undefeated Gaul. That was the nickname that he earned, right? They had the guy, what's his name? Barca. There was a guy named Barca there, right? And he was from what is his name? Like the scourge of the something like Carthage, I think he was, right? The beast of Carthage, I think his name was, right? And there was a story behind how he became the beast of Carthage, right? And in the show, they flash back and they tell of his legend and the story that he earned, and this is what you go by when you step into the arena, right? And they talk about how your reputation, the legend that you build, oftentimes is bigger, right, than the actual person, the actual gladiator, and how these stories become mythical and they become legendary. And this is what helps put fear and strike fear in your opponents, right? They talked about the shadow of death, right? Theocles, right? And these mythical legendary stories, of the battles in the arena, right? He fought 100 men. He was cut 1,000 times and never fell down, right? That's what they're doing now, with a lot of these basketball players, right? You see them giving these guys these legends, right? They build these guys up with these stories that are not real, that don't make any sense, though. They're not earning these legends. They're not earning these stories actually on the basketball court. They pump these guys up, they hype them up, and then when they come out there on the basketball court, this is not what you get, i.e. Ben Simmons or, John Morant, the Zion Williamsons. Like, they'll show you flashes of brilliance. They'll show you flashes of greatness, but they're never going to come through and follow through all the way. They're not going to live up to those legends, to those stories, right? To those reputations that everyone has built up, because those guys actually built those stories up. Those things were actually built on actual, tangible stuff through blood, right? Through sweat acting in the arena, right? Remember when Spartacus doubts Crixus in the beginning of the show, right? He says, yeah, man, I doubt that dude is that great. He didn't think Crixus was that great, right? Oh, he's not that great. He didn't believe that he was beating anybody. And the dude told him, he's like, yo, man, this dude actually went out there and beat, people in the arena. Like, he's legit champion. Like, if you think you're just going to go in there and beat this dude, like, you're mistaken, man. Like, his reputation is well-deserved and earned. He earned that reputation. He didn't think his reputation was earned. And what happened when Spartacus went out there against Crixus? He got his ass whooped. He got his ass whooped against Crixus in the arena, right? And he had to put the two fingers up. He had to put the two fingers up. Because if he didn't put them two fingers up, it's going to be a done deal. A done deal for them dudes, man. So again, when you talk about building up a reputation and earning a reputation, there's a difference there. When people talk about Michael Jordan, when they whisper about Michael Jordan and they tell legendary stories about, Larry Bird, or they tell you a legendary story about Bill Russell, right? Or one of these great players, right? Kobe Bryant. Like, when you think about some of the stories they tell you about these guys, right? Why are those stories told? Because they actually happened, right? And once again, these guys earned that reputation, that legend, because of the stories that, actually happened. They didn't lie and make this stuff up. They didn't have to exaggerate for Michael Jordan. Now, yes, when we hear some of the guys tell stories now, yeah, years later, guys want to be a little bit funny. We get that, right? And, they want to add a little bit extra to the stories, because that adds to your storytelling. Absolutely. But when you think about these actually happen, when you hear, someone like Dominique Wilkins talk about walking into their locker room and be like, yo, who's guarding me tonight? Oh, that's easy 50 for me, right? Byron Scott telling the same stories. You're hearing the same stories over and over and over again, right? It's like when you go somewhere, right? And then something happens, right? And they try to split you up. So you tell different stories, right? They try to get you to tell different series if you're going to tell the same story when you're not together, right? When you hear all these people talk, they're all telling you the similar stories, man. Similar stories. And what does it speak to? The mind, the competitiveness of Michael Jordan, right? Yeah, this guy was walking in locker rooms like, yo, who guarded me, man? Yo, 40. Who does this stuff? Michael Jordan does this, right? The trash talk stories, right? You hear people talking trash to Michael Jordan stands. Michael Jordan looking at them, giving them a look. Michael Jordan going out there and doing his thing, right? Dunking on my man, right out there, right? And then looking at the crowd, like, yo, is he big enough? Right? He went dunked down on Mel Turpin, right? And then looked at the dude and was like, yo. So these are all the things that we talk about with Michael Jordan, right? Taking this stuff from the crowd and throwing it back at them, right? Using it as fuel, looking at all these little slights, using anything to keep that competitive edge going. This is what we talk about Michael Jordan as a reputation that he earned. He earned that by actually doing this stuff, going out there and doing it. The reputation that we've seen LeBron James earn, that we've seen LeBron James do this season. People want me to give LeBron James credit. Oh, he's having a good season. No, Luka Doncic is having a good season. Not LeBron James. LeBron James is out there on the court with Luka Doncic. That's what he's doing. Whatever he's doing, Austin Reeves, these other guys, they're doing it despite LeBron James, despite him. Once again, you show me video footage of any of those other great players that you think about as all-time legends, top 10 players of all time, top 20 players of all time, and you show me video footage of them rolling around the floor. You show me video footage of them acting like LeBron James acts, and you show me a video footage of them being yelled at by their coach while their team is down by 20, and they're over there laughing and carrying on with the other team while their coach is calling them repeatedly. Show me video footage of Kareem Abdul-Jabbar doing that. Show me a video footage of Magic Johnson doing that, or Larry Bird's team down by 20, and Larry Bird's over here joking and laughing and carrying on. You show me Jerry West doing that. We know they ain't got that much video footage, but he wasn't doing this stuff, man. None of these guys were doing that, but that's LeBron James. And they'll tell you what, oh, who cares? He's in year 21, 23, he's 41. What the hell does that got to do with you acting like a fool? What does that got to do with you still doing these nonsensical things? Still being carried on the basketball court? What did he do last night? What did LeBron James do last night on the basketball court last night? Not a damn thing, man. Not a damn thing out there, man. LeBron James out there with like 12 points, man, on like 13 shots. Once again, Luka Doncic out there doing what he does, saved by Luke Kennard. Right? Again, man, LeBron James gets blocked by Paolo Banchero. That should have been the end of the game right there. But they got lucky. They got the ball back. I told you, the Orlando Magic blew that game. They had the ball on an inbounds. All they had to do was inbound the ball, and the game was over. I mean, come on, man. This is insane. I mean, but this is supposed to be the most skilled era of all time. But what did LeBron James do last night? He didn't do a damn thing out there last night. You have to continue to be carried. I told you, man. And the Lakers win again on a Luke Kennard 3 in the final seconds. And LeBron James out there, told you, he took more shots than points scored out there for LeBron James, man. So great for him. Like I said again, everyone wants to give LeBron James credit. They don't want to give Luka Doncic any credit. So Luka Doncic is not going to ever get the MVP trophy. Right? I mean, think about last year. Now, we know that Luka Doncic missed some games last year, right? Due to injuries and various injuries. So he was never going to be eligible for All-NBA or MVP or any of these kinds of things because of the games he missed. But just off the way they were talking about him playing with LeBron James, you're not winning MVP. They keep knocking and tearing down Luka Doncic. So how is that helping you win MVP? LeBron James is not helping his teammates get anything. Austin Reeves, like, he ain't going to get no shot. Like Austin Reeves was doing his thing. And you had people in his camp saying that Austin Reeves should be coming off the bench, that Austin Reeves needs to be traded. Like, I don't get this stuff. How is that helping your team be successful? I don't get this at all, man. But this is what you get from the LeBron James side of things. These are LeBron James fans. They don't want Luka Doncic to win MVP. Because, again, all this is going to show and highlight that LeBron James out there playing with more great players in his career. There's another great player to add to LeBron James' career, another MVP caliber player that LeBron James is playing with. Shout out to my man, Machiavelli Don, for coming through. You guys know that. Shout out to my man, Chris Garcia, TMD, what up? Oh, man, I tell you, something's crazy, man. Yeah, I tell you, man, the end of the game it didn't make any sense. I told you, the Orlando Magic, they had that game last night. And like I said, it's whatever. Like I said, good for the Lakers. They won 9 games in a row, I believe. And the only thing I've told you guys is this is similar to what happened last season at the same, basically about the same time. It was the beginning of March, right? When they had to end up win their streak. And it was like an 8-game win streak they had. And it ended at the beginning of March. I told you they had won 18 of 21 games. And I told you that's when they threw LeBron James in the MVP conversation in March last year. Remember, we how the hell is that LeBron James in the MVP conversation? But they were pumping the Lakers up. And they were like, yo, the Lakers figured it out, right? They're rolling now. Him and Luka Doncic, right? Ha, ha, ha. You guys are a bunch of idiots. They got Austin Reeves, the best third option in the NBA, right? And then what happened? Lakers in 5. I did a video on it before the series started against the Timberwolves. All the ESPN experts, they all picked the Lakers. I think there was only one. I think one expert did not pick the Lakers. I think one. Everybody else picked the Lakers in 5 or 6. I think maybe one person said Lakers in 7. But everyone had the Lakers winning, guys. Everyone. No one was like, oh, it's a close series. Oh, the Timberwolves might get them. Everybody was pumping the Lakers up. I told you, I was getting flooded with comments. Delete my channel when the Lakers win. Oh, you're going to look stupid. 5th ring loading. I'm already starting to get those comments now. LeBron James about it was, I had a guy, was a couple days ago. Maybe you guys saw the comment. I'm about to put on LeBron James Fancy Weird Things and will laugh. But he told me to delete my channel when LeBron James wins his 5th ring this year. Come on, man. Come on, man. Let me ask you this, the LeBron James fans. Let me ask y'all this. You guys are always talking about how Kobe Bryant was carried by Shaq, right? Kobe Bryant was carried by Shaq the first 3-peat. Kobe Bryant was carried by Shaq the first 3-peat. He didn't get no Finals MVP. He was carried by Shaq. Who the hell you think is getting Finals MVP if the Lakers win the championship this year? Let's just say they won the championship. Who the hell you think is getting Finals MVP? Ain't gonna be LeBron James. It ain't going to be LeBron James, man. He is not going to be the finals MVP if the Lakers win the championship. So again, all the stuff that you've trashed other players in their careers, oh, they didn't win the finals MVP that year. His teammate did, right? You guys laugh at Steph Curry, right? You laugh at all the other players that don't have finals MVPs for all their championships, right? You act like LeBron James is the X factor out here. You act like he's so an important piece for the Lakers, when we all know that LeBron James is a hindrance. He needs to be playing less. Less is more with LeBron James, is it not? Yes, it is. So all of that, you think the Lakers will win the championship this year and LeBron James going to be the finals MVP? Hell no. Hell no. I'm telling you, man, LeBron James needs to be the best role player he can be if he wants to give the Lakers any shot, which I don't think they have. But if you want to give him a shot, then you got to be the role player James. I told you, 10, 15 minutes a night, go out there and get some rebounds and hustle on defense, man. Stop lollygagging. Stop blowing on your damn hands. Stop wiping your chest. Stop standing with your hands on your hips. You got to bend your knees and slide your feet in the great, majestic wisdom of Kevin Durant. Bend your knees and slide your feet. That's all you got to do. That's how easy defense is in the NBA. Bend your knees and slide your feet. Once again, thank you, Kevin Durant, for giving us another jewel of knowledge and dropping another, once again, I don't even know what to say anymore. I don't even know what to say anymore, because for someone like Kevin Durant to say something like that, bend your knees and slide your feet, we can get anybody to come in here and do this. For you to say something like that when we've never witnessed you bend your knees and slide your feet at that level is insane. I told you, this is when you're talking about not living in reality and being delusional, completely delusional, and not understanding who the hell you are and what you've done in your career. This is insane right now, how these guys are trying to promote LeBron James and still having an impact like that. And someone like Kevin Durant, who got saved last night, passing Michael Jordan, saved. The Houston Rockets look like crap with Kevin Durant there. This man has done anything to lift them up. He has zero leadership. All this stuff is coming out. I was on the money again. I told you guys at the beginning of the year, all the pressure was on Kevin Durant to go out there and average 30. That's what you got to do, man. You got to go out there and drop 30. Every night, 30 plus, Kevin Durant. You're a basketball god, the most skilled scorer of all time. This NBA version of NBA is a lot soft and allows you to score at will. Guys dropping 40, 50 every night. You got guys like Bam Adebayo scoring 83 points in a freaking game. And Kevin Durant got more games under 20 this year than he has above 40. That's a laugh, man. An absolute laugh. All that going on, and you're averaging 25 points a game? 25 points a game? You ain't rebounding. You ain't playmaking. You turn the ball over to high hell again this year. All you got to do is score, and you can't even do that. You got no leadership out there. Kevin Durant, I was watching the end of the game. This dude last night was being guarded by Bam Adebayo in the final possession of the game. The Houston Rockets were down by 1 point, right? With plenty of time on the clock. Kevin Durant gets the ball inbounded to him at the top of the damn key. This man's one-on-one with Bam Adebayo, and he couldn't shake Bam Adebayo. Listen, Bam Adebayo is a good defensive player. No doubt about it. No doubt about it, man. Good defensive player. But damn it, you're Kevin Durant, dude. You can't get loose on Bam Adebayo. And again, you didn't even make a move on Bam Adebayo. All you did was hesitation and drive to the right. And did you see the shot that Kevin Durant threw up last night? Did you see the shot he threw up, guys? That was a terrible shot. What kind of shot was that, Kevin Durant? See, this is what I'm talking to you guys about, man. See, people will make excuses. And I heard someone in the broadcast booth say in the replay that I was watching, they double teamed him. No, they did not. They said the double team late. Kevin Durant had played. He was dribbling, standing there, dribbling the air out of the ball, man. Dude, make a move. You're down by 1. Make a move. Get a shot up, because maybe you'll get a rebound. Maybe you'll get a tip in. And what happened? He made a shot, a terrible-looking shot, chucked it up, and Amen Thompson bailed him out and tipped it in, man, with no time on the clock, bailing out Kevin Durant. Listen, it's not about Kevin Durant missing the shot. You miss shots, you make shots, whatever, man. Everyone misses shots. It's about the kind of shot you took. You take that kind of shot one-on-one against Bam Adebayo, man, and you're Kevin Durant? Oh, my God. Stop it right now. I don't want to hear nothing anymore, man. I don't want to hear it again. Michael Jordan on the Wizards would have got a better shot off than that against Bam Adebayo. And Bam Adebayo's a good defensive player. I'm not knocking his defense. But Kevin Durant's supposed to be the most skilled offensive player of all time. None of his era, of all time, they tell me. He called himself a god. And that's the shot you get in that moment? Dude, what is this? What is this nonsense? It's crap. What is, guys? Crap. All right? Straight crap. All right? Kevin Durant turned the Rockets into a bunch of clowns, man. He jacked that team all up. They were better off with Dylan Brooks and Jalen Green. That's a sad reality, man. I'm just telling you guys right now, man. Yo, shout out to Terrence Potts coming through. We live in a world where NBA players are crying about being double teamed, Booker and pickup game. That's right, I remember that. The NBA has tarnished the game of basketball, height and hype. That's exactly what I told you. Hype these guys up with stories and fake stories. They're not the real gladiators. They're not the real stories. Guys, Spartacus is a true story, guys, all right? This is a true historical event. I'm not just talking. These gladiators were real. These guys really did this stuff. These guys were looking death in the eye. They had to go in there and battle. Remember we talked about fear in the last live on Friday? And I told you, oh, man, guys, I ain't afraid of nothing. I dropped your ass up in them arenas. I dropped you in one of them arenas back in them days. And you got to battle against a couple of people or against another grown man out there with armor and swords and shields or spears or whatever the hell they got. And you got to go in there and fight to the death against somebody. You going to be scared. You think them dudes wasn't scared? Hell yeah, them dudes were scared. Hell yeah, they were scared. But what do you do with the fear? I told you. What do you do with that scaredness? That's what makes them dudes great. They're great fighters, right? They do something like compartmentalizing, right? They take that fear, right? They do something with it. They put it to a side, and they go out there and do. And what do? You fall back on your training. You fall back on your skills. You think people in the military aren't scared? You think Navy SEALs aren't scared? No, of course these guys are going into scary situations. If you're not scared, you're stupid. Of course, that's what keeps you alive, being scared, understanding the fear. But they're trained, so they fall back on their training. That's what you do. You fall back on your training. That's what you fall back on. Everything you're trained to do is going to come to you in these scenarios, guys. That's why you train so hard. That's why the training is so intense. That's why it's the way it is. So when the things happen, you fall back on that. Everything you fall back on. You don't panic. You don't get scared and fold up. You fall back on your training. That's what the gladiators do with these kinds of things. So again, there are different scenarios when you talk about some of these guys and what they're doing. Like I said, they're building these guys up with these legends that they did not earn and deserve. All right, so I said, these are true guys. These are real stories. These are great people. Think about how they're remembered. Like, when you think about some of these people, why was Spartacus so great? You think about a character in the show like Animaeus. Animaeus in the show, once again, we're talking about a TV show, but these are based over historical characters. So no, the show is not 100%. That's the way it went down 100%. It's based off historical events. So again, these things happened, right? And when you talk about how these guys are portrayed in these TV shows, someone like Animaeus is known for being honorable, for being an honorable person, right? This is what he was known for. So throughout the show, throughout the entire thing, it's about the honor for him. So whenever he's brought up in the show, whenever these things are happening, it's about Animaeus and how honorable he was. There were many scenarios during the show where they talk about the honor, right, of Animaeus, right? So it wasn't only his legendary skill, right, the heart, the grit, the toughness of Animaeus, but it was also him being more honorable than anyone in the show. There was no one in that show more honorable than Animaeus. Animaeus was the most honorable person in the show, where there was never a need for Animaeus to use treachery, right? Even Spartacus himself, right, during the show, used treachery and lies, right, to gain certain advantages, to, because he had to do some of these things, right? Remember, he, used treachery against Animaeus himself. So you talk about the honor and what, how you are, appreciated and remembered. This is what we're talking about, right? I gave you guys the example, of the character on the Game of Thrones, right? And we talked about, how when you talk about Ned Stark in the Game of Thrones, Ned Stark It's only in one season. Ned Stark is in the very first season of the Game of Thrones. The very first season. That's it. Ned Stark, one season of a show that ran like what, 7, 8, I don't even know how long the show ran, 7, 8, whatever it was, somewhere around there. He was in the very first season. However, you hear the name Ned Stark brought up many times throughout the show. And why are they bringing up Ned Stark's character throughout this show? Because of the honor of him, how honorable he was. So he was so honorable, he was honorable to a fault. Again, remember we talked about King Leonidas on Friday, right? And we talked about the honor, and we talked about standing on it, right? And how hard it is to be this way, and not everyone is like these kinds of people. These individuals are rare. And when you think about Ned Stark, he was like a King Leonidas to that degree, because once again, all he had to do was essentially bend his knee and submit to what he was doing. Remember, he was looking into things that he thought was right. He was being honorable. But if he would have not been honorable, if he would have put his honor to the side, right? If he would have put all this stuff to the side, then Ned Stark would have been not Ned Stark, right? So in that, show, people mention him many times, right? There's a scene there where, the other king talks about Stanley Baratheon, Stannis Baratheon brings up Ned Stark talking to Jon Snow, right? And he says, your father was an honorable man. He says, what do you think he would have done in this scenario? That's how honorable he was. Even in a scenario, this is like in season 5, right? Or whatever it was, season 4, whatever the hell it was, that they're bringing him up again in honor, right? So this is what, his character brought to the table. He was the most honorable character, or one of the most honorable characters, in that show. I mean, think about, him and his wife, right? He took that whole thing with his wife, right? On honor there. To keep a secret, to protect people, right, for certain things, to not be known. So he was honorable to a fault in some of these scenarios where people thought that he was, doing things outside of his marriage or whatever the case may be, when that wasn't necessarily the case. So, when you think about these kinds of qualities and these kinds of people, someone like Kevin Durant and the way a lot of these guys are, man, there's no honor behind a lot of these guys, man, and they don't have leadership like that. They're not leading people. So look at the Houston Rockets. They're a shell themselves to me of what they were last season. Are they a good team? Yeah, they're a good team. But are they going to win a championship? Not playing this way. Not with Kevin Durant playing this way. Not with him not leading the team or having an impact on these guys. It's just not going to happen. So these are the facts out here. I told you guys, with someone like LeBron James and Kevin Durant, they're both out there being carried, man. Both out there. Yo, shout out to Nemo Los Angeles for coming through with the super. Like I said, it means a lot for you guys to continue to come through on a Sunday morning. Hope you guys are having a good one. Oh, man. So, yeah. I mean, these are the facts, guys. I just don't understand how LeBron James, like I said, continues to get this credit that he's getting, even though he's clearly being carried and, in a way that, they said they would clown anybody else, right? Like if LeBron James win a championship and he don't win the Finals MVP, then what are you guys going to say to all the people that you've been knocking Kobe Bryant because he didn't win a Finals MVP? And when you think about, where Kobe Bryant was in his career versus where LeBron James is now in his career and how he's being celebrated versus how Kobe Bryant was being celebrated, LeBron James is still being celebrated as a top 10 player in the league, right, during these scenarios. So you're still being celebrated as a top 10 player in the league, but you're not having the same level of impact as a Kobe Bryant did at that point in time during the first three-peat. Because during that time, make no mistakes about it, was Kobe Bryant better than Shaquille O'Neal? No, he wasn't better than Shaquille O'Neal. We could argue maybe during the first three-peat, the first championship, the second championship. But what you saw there was an ascension. And what you saw was the reason why the Lakers were able to repeat that many times was, yes, because Shaq was great, but also because of the development and the ascension, the rise of Kobe Bryant. If Kobe Bryant stayed the same in 2000, 2001, 2002, like if there was no ascension, if there was no development, or if he was going downhill, right? Or if he was inconsistent, then the Lakers may not have been able to sustain that three-peat championship. People act like Shaq was just so great that they would have won 3 in a row no matter what Kobe Bryant did. So I told you, we're at the point now where you have guys like, Tracy McGrady talking about, yeah, just put me on the Lakers and we win championships. Get the hell out of here, man. Stop it right now. You can't just drop Tracy McGrady or Vince Carter or Ray Allen or Paul Pierce, right? Or any of these, great perimeter players from that era. You can't just drop them on the Lakers and say, oh yeah, they would win. You can't say that. That's the dumbest thing I've heard in my life, because those guys are not the same. Kobe Bryant was unique in the mind, in the competitive fire. That's just the way we talk about it. That's the way it's known. That's the way it was. So people try to act like, oh, Shaq was just so great. That's why they won. No, Shaq was great, but so was Kobe Bryant, and there was an ascension there. So I told you, during those last several seasons that they played together in LA, Kobe Bryant was finishing higher in the MVP voting than Shaquille O'Neal was. We have to also remember, in a lot of these scenarios, Kobe Bryant was the closer, right? He was the clutch time performer. In a lot of these scenarios, LeBron James is not the clutch time performer for the Lakers. So even if you wanted to say, yeah, LeBron James is older, he's taking a third option on the Lakers, okay, right? We laugh at this stuff because they promote him as the number 8th best player in the league. So how could you be the third option on your team when you're a third best player? But then they tell us, oh, what's the problem with that? Yeah, there is no problem with that. But y'all promoting him still as a top 10 player. So I don't, if that's the case, then Austin Reeves is top 5. If that's the case, because like I said, man, Austin Reeves clearly better than LeBron James, man. So again, this is where you get problems. It's the promotion of these guys. So, this is the kinds that we're talking about, when they talk about LeBron James and the Lakers and the scenarios that we're trying to lay out to you guys. These are the facts that we're laying out here, right? LeBron James is clearly, like I said, the weak link on a team, right? Clearly the weak link on the team here. These are the facts, guys. I mean, come on, man. You guys know that, man. These are the facts, man. These are the facts, man. He said, what? You disagree with what? What do you got to disagree with? You have to disagree on what? I'd love to hear. What do you have to disagree with? I would love to know what you disagree with, because I probably already know what you're going to say, because that's just what you guys do, man. He says, y'all forget how good y'all forget how good T-Mac wasn't. You know what I'm saying? Y'all forget. Nah, I forget nothing, dude. I watched this stuff, my man. I ain't forgetting nothing. I'm giving you the facts. All right, Sade? I'm giving you the facts, man. All right? See, this is what you guys do. I'm giving you the facts. You name me the all-defensive team that Tracy McGrady ever won. And Tracy McGrady gave effort on defense. I'm not saying he didn't play defense. He walked around and lollygagged. He was a solid defensive player. But you're talking about Tracy McGrady in a way that doesn't make any sense. What Kobe Bryant did for the Lakers was his two-way play. I told you, in the ascension of the two-way play and the clutch time performances of him. To me, he's a much more greater clutch time performer than Tracy McGrady was. Are we going to argue and debate this? There's no argument debate on this. All right? The defensive play of Tracy McGrady wasn't on that level. So, yeah, I understand that Tracy McGrady was a great player, or a very good player. No one's denying this. But you don't just put a great player on the Lakers in Kobe Bryant's spot and think that you're going to win championships. That's not why they won championships. There was a growth there. Because if that was the case, right, then you could just say that Shaq would have won a championship in 1998 or 1999, right? There was no championship there. There had to be a development from Kobe. He had to develop there. That's what was waiting for. It wasn't like, oh, we just needed somebody out there. Like, that's what they do with Scottie Pippen. Oh, yeah. It's Scottie Pippen, man. It's Scottie Pippen. Like, you could have gotten a lot of players from that era. Like, Michael Jordan just needed some help out there. That's all he needed. And once he got some help, right, he was able to help himself, help his teammates, help him. This is what happens. So to me, guys like Paul Pierce, guys like I said, like Ray Allen, they're great players. They're Hall of Famers, right? Vince Carter, but they're not Kobe Bryant. No one's arguing any of those guys as arguably top 10 or arguably top 5. No one is ever going to say, yeah, Tracy McGrady, man, arguably top 10. No one. And we know why. Because of the injuries. Guys, Kobe Bryant had injuries too. Kobe Bryant was hurt. He battled through this stuff. He was able, through the mind, to play through this and still rise. Come on, man. Tracy McGrady played on some good teams when he was healthy, and he blew it many times. Listen to some of the coaches talk about Tracy McGrady. They talk about his lack of work ethic in practice. There's no comparisons here. You guys get caught up in the athleticism, the highlights of Tracy McGrady. Yeah, no doubt, he could score the ball. Kobe Bryant did other things. He was a leader. He played defense. He was more clutch. He was just more impactful. That's why he got out of the first round and won championships where Tracy McGrady couldn't. He played with guys like Shane Battier, with Yao Ming. He played with good players, man. He was a good player. It wasn't the same. I mean, Shaq had Anthony Hardaway. Anthony Hardaway, man. I can argue Anthony Hardaway better than Tracy McGrady, man. To me, what Anthony Hardaway could do, come on, guys. Come on, man. But, we forget about Anthony Hardaway now, too. Right? Come on. There's no knock on you guys, man. But, you can disagree with me. I get that. But how are you disagreeing with this? I don't see how you could. Because you guys are trying to say, like, Tracy McGrady was close to Kobe. You guys are only looking at it from one dimension. It's like when people say, yo, Vince Carter was like Michael Jordan, or Anthony Edwards is like Michael Jordan. You're looking at it one way. You're looking at it over athleticism, right? Over the highlights, over the potential. But they couldn't have the mind. They couldn't see it through. It just wouldn't have worked to me. It wouldn't have. I'm not saying that they don't win a championship. Yeah, maybe they win a championship. They don't win 3. Remember, Tracy McGrady said they're winning championships. Yo, we going to win just like they're saying we're going to 3-peat again. We're going to win 3, 4, whatever. No, hell no. That's crazy. Shout out to you guys on the supers. Once again, praise to Don. LeBron stole Kobe's MVPs in 09 and 10. I told you guys. Shout out to praise to Don. To me, the 2009 MVP should have went to Kobe Bryant, based off of him being the best player on one of the best teams in the NBA. Record-wise, I think the Lakers had, 65 wins or something like that season in the Western Conference. So you were the best team in the better conference, and you were the best player on that team. To me, like I said, coming off the 08 season where they were in the finals, to me, that should have been his MVP, I believe. I don't know how LeBron James gets it. But again, these are the things that we talk about with LeBron James. He always had the hype behind him. He always had the media machine behind him. So you're going to get the benefit of the doubt. You're going to get some. I mean, the man got 2 MVPs on a super team. Like, what kind of nonsense is that? Kevin Durant didn't get a single MVP on the Golden State Warriors. But all of a sudden, LeBron James gets 2 MVPs on a super team? It don't make any sense. But this is what they've done for LeBron James. Shout out to my man coming through. LHS Fitness 7 coming through. KD just a super role player, scorer who has no leadership and uplifting qualities. He scores 25 a game, but he cannot consistently win unless all the pieces around him are exceeding their roles and lead. No, you're right. That's absolutely true. I mean, I think about it. Like, he's played with guys like Russell Westbrook, and guys like Russell Westbrook have taken a lot of blame and heat playing with Kevin Durant, right? Oh, you can't win with Russell Westbrook. You can't play with Russell Westbrook. You're never going to win with him, right? And once again, that goes back to Kevin Durant's leadership, his lack of leadership, right? To be able to figure it out, right? If you're so skilled, if you're that great, then you should have been able to work with a Russell Westbrook. Not to mention a lot of other really good players that they played with on those OKC Thunder teams, during that time. There was a lot of really good players on that team. There's a lot of really good role players on that team during that time. And like I said, someone like Kevin Durant can never maximize these guys on the basketball court. I told you. Kevin Durant, great scorer, man. Great shooter, right? We know he can shoot. But I told you the problem for Kevin Durant is the mind. He doesn't have the mind for it. So he's not going to go out there, and really, like you're saying here, score 25 a game. He's okay with that. Kevin Durant's okay with being, 14th or 15th, whatever he is in the league, scoring, 25 points per game when the Houston Rockets need you to be averaging 30, man. They need you to be going out there and being that dude. Like, you have to go out there and be the basketball god. You can't go out there and just be a regular scorer. You have to be Kevin Durant. But you're okay with not being, Kevin Durant per se, when you're going to out there and take 17 shots, and like I said, you're not going to really push it sometimes and really do the things you need to do to be a leader. They keep telling me about Kevin Durant's leadership, some of these people I see in the media. Where? Oh, yeah. I remember Kendrick Perkins. I did a video on it. He said, oh, yeah, Kevin Durant's leadership is really going to have an impact on the Rockets. What leadership? What leadership? He's never had leadership, but you're promoting him as being a great leader. No way, man. So shout out to LH Fitness for coming through, because you're right on the money with that. He doesn't have anything, like I said, to add to the table. If you're not averaging 30, what are you doing there? What are you doing, right? Oh, they'll say, all Michael Jordan did was score. All he had to do was score. Michael Jordan had to score historically, and he scored historically. Kevin Durant needs to be scoring historic right now. Where are your 35-point games? Where are your 40-point games? You should be averaging easily 30 points a game right now, Kevin Durant. With the elite level score he is, with his shooting ability, his height. Come on, man. 30 should be easy for him. It's not what you get, though. Shout out to Real Siberius. Max Talent got him to the first round, right? His work ethic never got him past it, period. And that's the difference here that we're talking about. With someone like Tracy McGrady and, a Kobe Bryant. That's not a knock on Tracy McGrady. I'm not knocking him. I know you guys want to agree with me on what I said. Okay, that's not a knock on Tracy McGrady, man. I don't believe the Lakers are winning championships just because you put Tracy McGrady there and not Kobe Bryant. I don't believe the progression wasn't that simple. You know what I'm saying? It wasn't like all of a sudden, Kobe Bryant was added to the team and then they won. It wasn't like that. There was a progression that was needed there. They were a good team when Shaq was there in his prime in 97, right? In 98, in 99. He was there in LA, but they weren't winning championships. Why? Because there were other teams that were better. There were other great players standing in the way, and they were having issues competing in certain scenarios. Shaq needed help, apparently. He needed someone else to do something else. And that guy happened to be Kobe Bryant, but he developed into that guy. I told you, if Kobe Bryant just stays the same, because that's what you get from Tracy McGrady. You get this. Tracy McGrady stayed the same. He never added anything, never became a defender. Like I said, never was a leader, never was a winner. And the injuries be damned. Be damned. Because a lot of the injuries, and some of the injuries for some of these guys, it has to go with their lack of training, their lack of effort and practice, and really taking this stuff serious, like the coaches have said about Tracy McGrady. He was a guy, Tracy McGrady, the stories around him is that he was a guy that wanted to get by straight off his abilities. Just straight up abilities. And that's great. Like my man, the Real Siberius says, your abilities are going to get you to the first round, dude. No doubt we'll remember you as having, a really flashy game, right? But no one's going to remember you and put you in those conversations. And it's not just because of your injuries, all right? It's just because of the things that you didn't have in your mind, in your heart. You didn't have this stuff. So it's not a knock on these dudes. Kobe Bryant was on another level, right? We're not just talking about regular people here. Like I said, no one thinks that Tracy McGrady, is a top 10 player. If Tracy McGrady maybe had top 10 potential, maybe. But you weren't even close to seeing that through. Not even close. All right? To me, like when I look at overall games, man, like to me, Charles Barkley had to me more overall talent than Tracy McGrady did. And Charles Barkley, what he could do at his size, doing the things he could do, impacting in different areas, rebounding, scoring, running the break, finishing strong down low. I mean, the dude was never missed down low. I told you, Charles Barkley around the rim, that dude was insane. But Charles Barkley didn't have the mind. He didn't have the mind of a Jordan or some of these other guys. And then everybody does, right? There's levels. So Charles Barkley can only get so far with everything he had, all right? Tracy McGrady, man, like I said, man, he had a work ethic like that, man. And he didn't have the injuries and everything, all that combined. Shout out to Praise the Don. Why is LeBron the only one allowed to have help? They cry about Kobe getting one All-Star Gasol in the trade. LeBron formed super teams in the weaker conference, facing 41-win teams in the playoffs. Absolutely. These are the facts out here. When we think about, shout out to Praise Don again, how they talk about the help situation. That's one of the things that we always laugh about, right? How none of the other great players are allowed to have help, right? So they'll say, Bill Russell played with all these guys, and, Magic Johnson played with Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, and Kareem Abdul-Jabbar played with Magic Johnson, and Kobe Bryant, they'll say, he had this guy, or he played with Shaq, right? Kobe Bryant played with Shaq, and Michael Jordan played with Scottie Pippen, and, Larry Bird played with, McHale and Parrish, and he played with, this guy and that guy. They love to bring up, Tim Duncan played with Tony Parker and Manu Ginobili. And they say that as if LeBron James played with no one that has a quote-unquote name, right? That no one he played with had a name, right? No one ever made an all-star team with him, right? Or before him or after him, right? He says all of this stuff, right? Like guys didn't win before him, right? Like, so this is what we're saying when they tear down his teammates. You're remembered for being less than. You're remembered. Every one of those great players that we mentioned, they're all elevated playing with each other, right? You remember Tony Parker and Manu Ginobili. Why? Because they played with Tim Duncan. That's why you remember them. It's not that you don't remember them or they were trashed because they played with Tim Duncan, where everyone's like, who's Manu Ginobili? Who's Tony Parker? They're trash. Tim Duncan's carrying these guys. That's how you talk about LeBron James guys. Kyrie Irving, Dwayne Wade's nobody now. Chris Bosh is just some trash player that wasn't doing anything. They tell you, what was Chris Bosh doing before LeBron James? He didn't win any games. He wasn't winning playoff scenarios. But they won't tell you. We don't mention the guys that Chris Bosh playing with. Can they tell you who Chris Bosh playing with? Could they tell you about Mo Peterson or Anthony Parker? Can they tell you about any of these guys that Chris Bosh was playing with? I'm not saying those guys weren't good players or they were bad players, but you'll try and knock LeBron James teammates, but then you'll knock other great players or good players for not winning games because they didn't have any help either. So once again, the help only applies to LeBron James. Chris Bosh is supposed to lead the Raptors to the championship with nobody of note on those teams. Right? Michael Jordan's supposed to beat the 86 Celtics with nobody of note on his teams. Everybody else is supposed to win. Jerry West is supposed to be the Celtics, right? Everyone's supposed to win their scenarios, right? But LeBron James. LeBron James don't have to win these scenarios. No matter what he does, they'll blame someone else, right? So they'll celebrate his numbers, but then they tell you that Michael Jordan's won out Pippen, even though he's averaging 40 in these scenarios, in these playoff series without Scottie Pippen. So let's not celebrate Michael Jordan's numbers for him. Let's celebrate LeBron James' numbers to excuse him there, though. So Michael Jordan can't have any help. No one can have any help except LeBron James, but they promote him as not having help, even though he has all the help. So this is why I tell you, they try to put LeBron James in a win-win situation by whenever he wins, it's him, it's all him. Whenever his team loses, it's his teammates, right? Other players win championships. Oh, Michael Jordan's champs are a team accomplishment. But Michael Jordan's losses, those are on him, right? When he loses, 1-9 on Pippen. Oh, 1-9 on Pippen. You see the dynamic here, guys? This is what it takes to be a LeBron James fan, man. So again, man, you guys know the deal. Shout out to my man Mark Book for coming through. I said I appreciate you guys. John Pettit, shout out to you guys, man. Forgive me for not shouting you guys out. If I missed you guys, Fancy, good morning. Thank you for coming through again. I'm going to end the live stream on that. Like I said, man, it really means a lot. A bass engineer, thank you very much. Yeah, man, KG, Allen Iverson, they're very popular. I think I told you guys, man, Kevin Garnett was my brother's favorite player. I think we all like Allen Iverson. You know, whether, he was your favorite player or not is different. I think everyone had a lot of respect for Allen Iverson because he played with a lot of heart and grit. See, that's the thing I tell you guys, man. Like, we're talking about the players, right? The basketball players, right? It's not about personal, these guys, and I don't know these guys like that. You respected a lot of those guys. Whether you thought they were your favorite player or not, you respect those guys. I told you, Jason Kidd was one of my favorite players from the 2000s, that late 90s into the 2000s. Jason Kidd was one of my favorite players, man. I loved watching Jason Kidd play. When he came to New Jersey Nets, man, it was sensational. They were always on TV, right? I used to watch all these games of Jason Kidd. I used to love watching that dude play basketball. So he was one of my favorite players of that era. But that's what we're talking about. Like, those guys, you respected them, their games, their personalities. I respected Allen Iverson's swag. I respect his personality. He was unique. He was himself. He was authentic. He wasn't fake Allen Iverson. So whatever we felt about him and the practice stuff and, how he dressed or how he carried himself, the way he spoke on the microphone, he was always authentic. I always appreciate that about Allen Iverson. Guys like Dennis Rodman, they're authentic, man. They're just themselves. They laugh now at Dennis Rodman. Some of these guys will say, oh, Dennis Rodman wore dresses, and you're laughing at guys and they wearing dresses. Dennis Rodman was the only guy doing that. That was him. He was unique. He was authentic. He was original unto himself. That was his personality. The way he was on the court was the way he was off the court. He wasn't on the court one way, off the court another way. He was weird on the court. He did weird things on the court. He was weird off the court. That was Dennis Rodman. That was him. Everything about Dennis Rodman is authentic, is unique, it's different. So I don't understand when they try to bring Dennis Rodman up when you got, most of or a lot of the guys today dressing really weird, man. And I told you, they're not Dennis Rodman. Dennis Rodman was, I told you, a unique guy. Dennis Rodman was a rock star. You will never see anyone like Dennis Rodman again. You're not going to see anyone play the game that way. You're not going to see anyone impact the game that way. Dennis Rodman can impact the game in ways that people don't do today. All right, we're talking about effort. We're talking about grit. I told you, when I was in high school, Dennis Rodman was one of my favorite players. I did a book report on Dennis Rodman, his book, Bad As I Want to Be. I did a book report on that. And I learned a lot about Dennis Rodman, his upbringing, a lot of stories about his childhood. And, I learned about his skills, in, some of the colleges that he played before he came to the NBA. And once again, you gain an appreciation for someone like Dennis Rodman. Because what Dennis Rodman understood was what he could do, what he could bring to the table, right? He knew was unique. He thought about and looked at the game differently than anyone else. So Dennis Rodman could have averaged 20 points a game if he wanted to. He had the game for it, guys. He could have averaged 20 points a game easily, Dennis Rodman, in his career if he wanted to, if that's what he wanted to do, be one of those kinds of players. But that wasn't the scenario that he ended up in. That wasn't the scenario that he found himself in on Detroit, right? So what he understood was what the team needed. And what he understood was what he could do good was different. So he rebounded the basketball. He played defense. He gave effort unlike anyone else. All right? Dennis Rodman making plays, like I said, hustling up and down the court, playing with a certain level of energy. This is what he brought to the teams. So when you think about, like I said, the impact and, what he could do, he was unpredictable, right? Unpredictable. But that was Dennis Rodman, man. All right? That's who he was. I told you. So when Dennis Rodman's out there playing the way he plays the game, Dennis Rodman didn't play like a woman. He didn't play soft. That dude was tough as nails. Tough as nails, Dennis Rodman. So, yeah, we all get the off-court personality and the things that Dennis Rodman did. But when you put Dennis Rodman on a basketball court, you in for a long game. You got to bring it again. You got to bring it against Dennis Rodman. You know what I said? You got to bring it against him. Not only physically, but mentally. All right? Because he's going to do some weird stuff out there. You guys know the deal, man. Once again, man, shout out to all you guys who come through, man. I hope I didn't miss anybody's supers. Like I said, man, it means a lot. I hope you guys have a good rest of your Sunday. I hope you guys have a great weekend. You guys know the deal, man. Once again, these are the facts out here. I'll get you guys on the next one.